And we are back for another episode of Joe's Knows College Sports. College football season is in the past. We are fully fledged into the college basketball season. Ben Chowder, joined by Giacomo Imperiali, Jack Kemmler, and Will Kwakowski. Guys, college basketball is starting to heat up. We're not quite in March Madness yet, but the madness is starting to brew. Conference tournaments are just getting underway. We're going to go over our predictions for all the tournaments. We're going to go over some of the best games of this upcoming week, as well as that spicy guac take, which we will get into right now. So, Guac, start off the show right. What is your spicy guac take?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it from the beginning. I'll bring a little bit of bias into this one because I really, truly do believe that I am right. And my spicy guac take, it's not really that spicy, but I think it's very arguable, is UCLA will be a 1 seed in the March Madness tournament this year. I truly believe that UCLA is a top 4 team in the country, and it's as simple as that. And the one thing that scares me with UCLA is the inability to win on the road. When they're on the road in the Pac-12, they do struggle a little bit, which is the only thing that scares me. But once again, UCLA doesn't have many close games. They blow out a lot of teams. They only have 4 losses all season. A couple of them are pretty bad again. And with the people saying UCLA has had an easy schedule, you look at this weekend, they have a big opportunity to beat Arizona at home, which would be a huge win. They're going to beat them. Don't worry. They'll beat them. But it's going to be a huge win that is just going to prove my point even further, that UCLA should be a top 4 team in the country. And one other thing before I pass it around, Purdue almost lost to Wisconsin at home. I mean, it's really Purdue or UCLA for that last 1 seed. And all I'm saying is UCLA looks like a much stronger team than Purdue does at the moment, at least.
So, Jack, your thoughts on the spicy guac take?
So you're assuming that you beat Arizona and then you beat Arizona again in the Pac-12 tournament.
To me, if UCLA wins the regular season game and then in the Pac-12 championship we lose by single digits, I think UCLA is still a 1 seed, even if we lose the Pac-12 championship.
No, but wouldn't they have the same record, but Arizona would beat them twice?
No. We have a much better record than them right now. I can double check that for you real quick.
So Arizona has one more loss. They also played a lot better of a schedule. They played, Indiana. They played Miami early. They also did beat UCLA. So it honestly, if Arizona ends up winning the series of, the 3 games of the 2 regular season games and then the Pac-12 tournament, and then also whoever wins the Pac-12 tournament really should be the 1 seed. I think that's what it is. I don't really care what happens tomorrow night. Although it will be, a very big deal if Arizona wins. But say, UCLA handles business at home, they still have to win that Pac-12 tournament out. And, I mean, without that, I don't think they could really, outstand Arizona when it comes to, picking for who's really number 1.
See, I really disagree there because Arizona has had some pretty bad losses. You look at the Arizona State loss the other day when they lost in the half-court buzzer beater. Listen, I get there was a little bit of luck there. That's a terrible loss. I mean, Arizona has had some really bad losses. UCLA has 4 losses, and that's to Baylor and Illinois, who were both ranked at the beginning of the season. That was in the first week of the season, and then in conference, Arizona and USC. None of those are bad losses. Arizona has had a couple ones where they've just let the ball get away from them.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying, but when you look at the resume and you look at Arizona versus UCLA, Arizona has beat San Diego State, Creighton, Tennessee, and Indiana. They beat 4 top 25 teams. So you can't – and UCLA have they beat a top 25 team?
USC was ranked in the top 25, I believe, when we beat them the first time.
But
we're really at this point talking about like right now. So USC – USC's borderline. If I were ranking them, I'd probably put them within like 30 to 40 range. They're a good team, but like that's not that impressive of a win.
Yeah, if we're going current, Arizona's 4-0 against top 25 teams. Sorry, 5-0 plus the UCLA win, and UCLA is what, 0-3?
Listen again, I'm not denying that UCLA is in an easy schedule. I mean, the fact is UCLA's toughest and best games were in the first week of the season. Arizona, Illinois, and Baylor right off the bat in the first 2 weeks of the season. And that's when UCLA really struggled, and I understand that. But UCLA really blows out. They take care of business. They don't lose to bad teams, and they haven't in the past 2 months. That's all I'm saying.
So yeah. Basically, you just believe that they're going to win these next 2 games.
Yes, I think it makes a lot more sense once we beat Arizona. I'm saying once because we're not losing to them. I think once we beat Arizona, it just becomes even more clear. But I really think at the moment, it's the 1 seed is really between Purdue and UCLA. And after watching that Purdue game last night against Wisconsin, they look terrible. They are bad. That's all I'm saying. They do not look good at all.
All right, I'm sure we're going to be talking about UCLA later on in the episode with that game against Arizona for one of our top 3 games of the week, as well as maybe that Pac-12 champion. But for right now, let's get into the rest of the conference championship predictions. We'll start off with the Big 12. Guac, I'll throw it to you. There's really like 2 main teams in my eyes, at least. So who are you going to go with here for the Pac-12 or Big 12?
It's definitely not 2 main teams, Ben. I'll tell you that. There's a couple that could really win this thing. I'm going to go with the favorite Kansas. I think that what?
You said there's a couple that can mainly win it. I just said there's 2 main teams.
No, there's 4.
I mean, I think there's 4 as well.
Okay, all right.
I'm not going to name them, but again, I'm going to go with Kansas. I think that they're still the best team in the Big 12. Texas does scare me, though. I'll mention them. They really do scare me. So this will be one where I think the conference championship is really up for grabs. So I'm not too confident with this one. I wouldn't put anything on it. I'm not really I'm not too advocated about this one, but I'm going to go with the favorite with Kansas.
Jack?
I'm going to take the other side of Kansas. I'll take Kansas State. Kansas State has beat Kansas before. They did get beaten really bad at Kansas, but it's hard to win there. But I just like how Kansas State is going into this tournament. They're on a 4-game win streak. They beat Baylor, beat Iowa State, and their guard, Keontae Johnson, is one of the best players in the Big 12. Marcus Noel, rebounding machine. I see them edging out Kansas.
Well,
yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick away from Kansas because not only do they have the best, one of the best records, are they one of the best teams, but they also are the second hardest overall schedule in the league, and that's behind Oklahoma, who's also in the Big 12. Only reason that they're not number 1 is because they can't play themselves. Kansas cannot play Kansas. But I really want to go with Kansas here. I know it's boring, but I mean, they're going to have home court advantage for a while. And even if they don't, I mean, they play on the road super well. They've taken down big teams. And I do think that they're going to win this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go Kansas as well. I mean, you said it's boring, but we're making predictions here, not hot takes. Will, you brought up that they play the second best schedule in the country so far. They're 25-5. Their defense has played incredible against those teams. Their offenses look very nice as well. So, yeah, it's going to be 3 people picking Kansas. And then, of course, Jack just has to be different and go with Kansas State. We'll move on to the ACC. Jock.
So this is the weakest out of the Power 5. And we're also doing the Big East as well in this episode. But this is by far the weakest, in my opinion, out of all the conferences. Virginia just does not scare me at all. I do not think that they're going to be a very good team come tournament time. And I'm going to take the team that's been hotter for a little bit more recent. I'm going to go with Miami. Earlier in the season, I wasn't too impressed, but what they've done over the past couple of weeks, I like what they've done so far, and I have a lot more confidence putting anything on Miami than I do on Virginia going into this conference tournament.
Jack?
Yeah, I totally have to agree. This ACC is really bad, and I have to agree with Guac. Virginia is just not a good team. I don't like them in the tournament at all. I see them not getting past the Sweet 16, and then you have Pitt, who is just not a very good team. They beat up on bad ACC teams to make them look good. The only other team I could see rivaling Miami is Duke to make it to the championship, but they got killed by Miami twice. So I don't see them beating Miami, so I'll take Miami easily.
Well,
yeah, I made fun of Jack earlier, just basically purely because he's a Duke fan. I told him don't pick Duke; they're not going to win it. Well, it's really just to mess with them because I'm actually going with Duke myself.
Oh my!
I think Duke is they're not experienced at all. They're very young, brand new coach. So that's a formula for a mess in the regular season. It happened last year with UNC. Look where UNC ended up. Guac, I bet if I said that UNC was going to win it last year, you would have lost it on me. UNC, they almost won it all. So, I mean, I think Duke really could do it. Kyle Filipkowski is just unreal. He keeps getting better. And they're finally going to return all their players. Everybody's going to be healthy. They're going to get a good amount of games in Cameron. And I really think they could take down Miami. They could take down Pitt. They could take down Virginia. So there's no reason Duke can't win it. I would say, many people would say Miami's a favorite, but I just think that, there's a lot going on in Miami with like, who's gonna be the leader, and it's gonna be hard for them to. I know they all are very good. They got 3 guys who could really shoot around the corner, who could make plays. But I really think Duke is gonna be. Sorry, I really think Duke is gonna pull it out with Flipkowski and Roach, and they look really good recently, and I think they're gonna take that hot streak into the tournament.
Yeah, I'm going to completely agree with Will here for the second time. I do think it is between those 3 teams that we mentioned so far, Duke, Miami, and even Virginia, even though we're not all big fans of them. But I'm going to go with Duke. I mean, you mentioned Miami beating Duke twice already this year, but tournaments are a whole different thing. And this is Duke. I mean, we know how they perform under pressure. I don't care what players are on the team. It's Duke basketball. Like when they are put under pressure, they win games. So I mean, that's literally going to be my argument. Give me the Blue Devils against Miami in the tournament.
I mean, for me, you look at the Blue Bloods of college basketball, and other than Kansas, just none of them are good this year. Duke is not that great. North Carolina is not that great. Nova's not that great. These teams that we're saying that are always good just are not good this year. North Carolina may not even make the tournament. That's how bad they are this year. I mean, just atrocious. And they were, I believe, they were the number 1 team in the country at one point. They fell off a cliff so hard. Duke, I guess, battled injuries a little bit more, so maybe I have a little bit more confidence in them than I do out of the other Blue Bloods, but I can't see a world where Duke beats Miami or Virginia, even though I hate Virginia so much.
Yeah, real quick, I just step in. I can't wait to go back to this video and take a clip and go back to, I think, what was probably one of our first ever episodes of this, of Guac praising UNC. We all were tearing them apart for it, saying UNC is not a good team. They're just number 1. Why are you saying they're number 1? He's like, man, they're the best. I think I even left them on a top 5 at that point. And now he's just ratting on them. And also one last thing, Jock, you did math. You did it very well. Those 3 blue blood teams you brought up all lost their amazing, historically good head coaches. So that's the thing to look out for. They still, all these guys have talent. Kentucky, Kentucky, Kansas, Duke, Villanova, as you said, all these guys all lost their coaches, but all their teams filled with talent. So watch out for those teams. I mean, told you as Ben said earlier, tournaments are a weird thing. It's called March Madness for a reason. So, never doubt on those blue blood teams that are just completely loaded with talent, but don't know what to do with it.
And we'll talk about a team loaded with talent with this next conference, or maybe loaded with a talent. We're going to get to the Big Ten. I know we got some people who aren't fans of this team, and go after me again if I'm wrong, but for me, it could be a fairly obvious pick here. But Jock, I'll throw it to you first for the Big Ten.
The Big Ten is the one conference where there's not an obvious pick, and I'll tell you that right now. So I'll even start turning some heads. Purdue's not winning the Big Ten. I'll tell you that right now. They're not winning the Big Ten championship. See, for me, you know what? I was going to take Indiana and take Will's team, but I don't. Terrence Shannon Jr. is my favorite player in the country. I'm going to go with Illinois. I think Terrence Shannon Jr. just has so much star power on that team. I love what Illinois has done this year. They've lost a couple of bad games, but I think that this is the bounce back. I think Illinois, if they win the Big Ten, could be around that 5-6 seed, especially with an impressive Big Ten resume in this tournament. Again, I think Terrence Shannon Jr. is I'll say top 3 player in the Big Ten behind Edey and Trace Jackson Davis. I think he's the 3rd best player in the Big Ten.
Yeah, so we were talking about Purdue and how we hate him. If Will wants to.
Who did I miss? Who did I miss? Just so I don't look dumb.
Chris Murray, dude, what is up with you? You hate him so much.
We were actually talking about this.
21 a game with 8 rebounds.
We were talking
Terrence Shannon Jr. is out here averaging 17 points. I think 7 boards and 2 assists. Chris Murray is not just the 3rd best player in the Big Ten. He's also the 5th best player in the league right now. Terrence Shannon Jr. I don't know if he's even top 5. I would take Pickett over him.
Oh, Pickett is atrocious. I could agree with Murray. I missed Murray.
Murray's so much better. I would probably take Pickett, and I would probably also take Hunter Dickinson on Michigan over him.
Not after.
And those are the guys I would take over him. I just can't. You really hate Chris Murray for no reason.
I'm just not a fan of him. We could talk about that later, but I'm not a fan of the Iowa Hawkeyes and Chris Murray now.
All right. Well, Jack, I'll throw it to you next.
Yeah, I also hate Purdue. I don't like the way they play the game of basketball. I think it's the most boring thing of all time. It's like the Spurs like a couple of years ago. So, but one team in this Big Ten like really has their number, and that's the Hoosiers. And Trey Davis is one of the best players in the country. Jalen Hood-Schifino has been hot as of late. What a point guard he is. What a rookie. And if you have their number, if you're 2-0 against them in the regular season, away and home, you're going onto neutral ground. I think Indiana doesn't beat Purdue in the final. They beat Iowa, finally overcoming that big loss they had earlier in the year over Iowa.
Well,
yeah, speak about another big loss. We just blew it by 20 at home to Iowa. Really bad loss. And I actually like the direction Jack's going. And it's not that I just hate Purdue. I don't see Purdue as a team that really is going to make a run. I mentioned it earlier. Edey's not going to, he won't be able to be as dominant when people are going to throw two guys at him. And that's a difference that, some teams with big men have. Indiana, they have guys where Trace Jackson-Davis could really kick it out to. They could shoot, they can make plays. Purdue, it's really just Edey, and that's about it. So outside of that, but I'm also going to mention there's a lot of teams. And, I got to pull up my list. Sorry. So we have Purdue, Illinois, Indiana, Northwestern, Iowa, Michigan. I think all those teams can win it. I'm not going to mention Maryland. I don't think Maryland's that good. I think Maryland really is a home team. You look at their road record, they haven't done anything significant away from Maryland. But, the three teams I'm going to zero in on are Illinois, Indiana, and Iowa. Illinois, just an all-around great team, a very good defensive team. I think they can make it, but they're going to be my number 3 choice. And from there, it's really down to Iowa, Indiana. I mean, Iowa shoots the ball like no team in the Big Ten. They are so dominant. Their defense is a little weak. They don't have a true big man. But I'm going to have to really go with Indiana because I'm an Indiana fan.
Go on.
Can I do something real quick before? Thanks, Ben. I am not an Iowa fan at all. I just think that the team is so overrated. I'm not a fan of Chris Murray. I'm not a fan of the entire team. So what we'll say about those 3 teams he's honing in on, I'm fine with the first 2, but Northwestern has been way more impressive in my opinion than Iowa has. Northwestern was ranked in the top 25 for the first time I believe it was a week or 2 ago. I mean, they have been super impressive as of late, and they 100%. I would take them as a dark horse to win the Big Ten championship. They 100% have a chance to win it. I think. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just want to say I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I just think that they've been a little bit too streaky, very, very streaky. So there's a chance that they either win it or they either are a
first round exit
right away, first round exit. And I just don't really see all that they got. I mean, they got Boogie Ellis. I mean, what a name! That's what a name. But outside of that, I mean, not much talent on that team. Not many big wins outside of the win they had at home against Purdue. And I mean, I'm not impressed. I don't really think they have the star power to take down the 3 teams I mentioned, but I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they won it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Also about Iowa, it's just when Will talked about UNC last year, UNC was nothing, and then they beat Duke at home, Coach K's last game, huge thriller win, and then that's what got them into the ACC tournament to win it and then to get to the finals of the March Madness. Iowa had the craziest win against Michigan State. They were down, I don't remember what it was, 15 with a minute to go, and they came back all the way to win it in OT. And then they go into Indiana, one of the hardest places to play in the whole country, and beat them by 22. So that team is very, very hot going into the tournament, which is huge.
Well,
I also do want to add one more thing. I have watched a lot of Iowa this year. I've watched them destroy our team, and they're also a really fun team to watch. Jock, you should probably do some more watching. They're a fun team to watch. But a team that's gone through more of a rocky, regular season, just inside the locker room, they've had they had their main guy, McCaffrey, or one of their main guys, out for half the year because of anxiety. There's just a lot of little things, guys getting on and off the court from injury, and they're finally putting it together. I mean, they got they have 3 guys averaging over 15 a game. I mean, that's unheard of from a lot of college basketball teams. It's not just Chris Murray. They got Rabrakra, their center, underneath, who could play really good basketball, and he dominated against Michigan State. He dominated against Trace Jackson-Davis. And then also one more guy to remember is Tony Perkins, who's I guess their real point guard. Chris Murray does it all, but this guy just has been so hot as of late. He had 26 against Michigan State. I think he had like 22 against Indiana, but he just gets forgotten about on the court. Everybody's trying to focus on Chris Murray, and man, I mean, they're really good. If you leave them open, they'll just completely dominate. And I really like Iowa going into it. I just think Indiana's better, honestly. A little biased, but I think Trace Jackson Davis is nearly unstoppable. But I mean, Iowa's just really good.
Yeah, I'll cap it off with the Big Ten. I do want to throw something out there real quick before I make my pick. We'll just mention them losing a game, but no one really mentioned them at all for the championship. Michigan State. I mean, no one really wanted to talk about that. I don't know what you guys and what your qualms with them and why you don't pick them to even be mentioned in a conversation like this.
I was thinking about mentioning them. I was, but I'm actually I hate Joey Hauser. Basically, as much as Guac hates Chris Murray, I just don't think he's a good basketball player. Of course he is. He made it to the college level, but I don't think he's as good as people think. And I mean, it's just the team's not they're not fully there yet. I think they need it one more year. I mean, Walker's a stud, but I don't think they have, as I said with Northwestern, I don't think they have the star power to go up against the big three, the big four.
Completely agree with Will.
All right, so I'll get to my pick here. Guys, I mean, Jack called him boring, which is why he didn't pick him. I don't care if you're the Denver Nuggets type of boring with Nikola Jokic being a superstar player. I couldn't care less. I'm picking Purdue. You talked about them. Oh, what if they double team Edey? You're a Power 5 basketball team, a top 5 basketball team. If you can't find another guy on the Boilermaker team to get open and get a clear shot when Edey is getting double teamed, do you even deserve to be in Division I basketball? This isn't rocket science, guys. Purdue has guys when Edey is double teamed that can step up, just mediocrely step up. And win them the game. This is outrageous to me. They're 25-5. They're far and away the best team in the Big Ten. I think you guys, none of you guys picking them is just a crime in my eyes.
It just isn't. They're just not a good basketball team, Ben. To say that they're far and away the best team in the Big Ten, I think is a joke. Yeah. I think Indiana is right on their tail, I would say. I think Illinois, skill-wise, is really, really close, too. They can spread the floor a little bit better than Purdue. Just their guard play is just not good. It just isn't good. I get they have the best player in college basketball, not the most talented, but they have the most dominant, I would say, in Edey. But they're a first or second round exit in the tournament. So I think a lot of people are starting to believe it more and more. They're just not, in my eyes, they're just not a good basketball team.
Give me Shaq on the Charlotte Hornets, and I guarantee you I'm winning a title. I couldn't care less. This is a superstar game. Basketball is a superstar game. You get your one guy and you win rings with them. This isn't football. It's not a team sport. It really isn't. I mean, you just get your one superstar. That's good enough for me. Boy, you have something you want to add or no?
No, I do want to agree. I mean, Purdue doesn't have great guard play. The one thing that I think they're missing, as you said, they're a Power 5 team. They're the 5th best team in the country. They obviously got to be good. And Zach Edey, hate to say it, he's the best player in the country. He's probably one of the best college basketball players we've seen since Kevin Durant. He's just absurdly good. And I don't know what his future looks like with the NBA. I don't really follow the league, so I don't know how age factors in. So whatever. I mean, he's gonna have a great career wherever he goes. He's a stud. I don't think it's a fact that Purdue doesn't have a lot of talent. I just think they lack the superstar, the second X factor that's really gonna put them over the top. They don't have that 1-2 duo. They have a bunch of guys who can shoot. That being a Purdue, they're going to have guys who step up on game-to-game basis, but they don't have another consistent shooter, another guy that Edey can really look for. And one more thing, Edey's, defense isn't great, but that's not a problem. I mean, he's a 7'3", a 7'3" big man. He takes care of the rim pretty well. But my main worry is the fact he just doesn't swing the ball out a lot. He takes a lot of, pretty crappy shots where if he wasn't 7'3" and he wasn't, kind of dunking it over guys, he really wouldn't be good shots at all. So, I mean, if it's too late to change anything, but I mean, his ball vision, his court vision. It just really isn't, as special to me. So that's why I think, in a one-man show, it's really hard to win.
All right, well, we had a variety of picks in the Big Ten. It'll be very fun to see how that tournament ends up. And I'll make another bold claim. We'll see if you guys call me wrong on this one. I think the two teams we're going to talk about later on in the video for that game of the week are arguably my two teams I'm honestly still trying to decide between. Jock's already shaking his head. Maybe I'm 0 for 3 here. So, Jock, I'll throw it to you first.
No, I'm agreeing with you here. I think that this is the one conference where there's a top two. I don't think anyone else is really close. You can maybe argue USC has a chance. I wouldn't hate that, but I really think it's just 1A and 1B with Arizona and UCLA. And again, I'll bring my bias into this just to back up my take once again. I'm going to take UCLA. I think that they are the better team. Now, I think Arizona does have the player in Tubelis, but I think UCLA's roster as a whole is much better. They have Jaime Jaquez, who's their star, and as Will mentioned, they have the surrounding stars. They have Tiger Campbell, the senior, who's our ball distributor. You have Jalen Clark, who can score when you need him. You have Marabelli, the freshman. You have a lot of options that Jaime Jaquez can pass to, and he had a massive game last night against Arizona State. He had 26 points. I mean, that's a huge game. He stepped up in a big way. I think that UCLA is going to be too much for Arizona the second time they play them. Once again, UCLA played them very early in the season when UCLA struggled. That was their worst point in the season. Now this is later in the season. UCLA is hot. They haven't lost a game in a very long time. So I'm really looking forward to the game, and I think UCLA is going to pull it out.
Jack?
Yeah, I'm basing this not mostly, but a lot of it on their first matchup, and Arizona played amazing defense in the first matchup. And when Arizona is arguably the best offensive team in the country, they play that good of offense against UCLA. I see them meeting in the championship and Arizona beating them. Let's not forget about their other superstars. I mean, I know they have Tubelis, but Balo, he's like scoring 14 a game. He's very good. And Krissa, who shoots a 3, lights out. They still have superstars around Tubelis. I just think they're the better team. The offense is just going to outweigh that UCLA team.
Well,
yeah, I mean, as Jack said it, I'm gonna go with Arizona here, but it's not just a shot in the dark. There are reasons. It's not just because of how they played the first time. I mean, Arizona is just an offensive unit. They're the sixth most efficient offense in the entire league, but like 57th or 58th in defense. And the one thing that really stood out to me is their ability to score against top defenses. I don't think there's many defenses that actually have the ability to stop Arizona. I mentioned this a lot earlier in the year that, teams like Arizona that are this good at scoring are impossible to stop. And I don't think it's really been shown that I don't think any team has been close to really stopping them. And I don't think that UCLA's number 2 ranked defense can hold what's going on. I mean, they don't have like the overall height as Jock said, Jamie Jaquez, or however you pronounce it. It's only 6'7". But I mean, what do you want to say?
Go ahead. Finish.
All right. But I do also want to point out Arizona's defense plays a lot better than it looks like. They do play in a very defense kind of heavy conference. It's not like a lot of points are being thrown up in the Pac-12, but I mean, they're 57th in the I guess all over overall college basketball Division I. But yes, they're 57th. They can't hold their ground against UCLA. And I do think that, in a matchup for the conference tournament, Arizona just takes it. I mean, I think they're the better team overall, and I think they have what it takes to take down this UCLA team.
Yeah, right. So real quick, Jock, I'm going to argue for you here, and then I'll let you go.
Thank you.
Completely off on Will. So like I said, I'm going to argue for Jock. I'm going to take UCLA in this one. Well, you mentioned that UCLA really can't contain Arizona. I think they already showed that they kind of did. They allowed 58 points to one of the best offenses in the country. And I think this UCLA offense has only gotten better as we've seen them progress throughout the season. So I see a similar output from Arizona. I see that 50 to 60 range in points, but I see UCLA. It's going to be a close one on Saturday, but I see UCLA going 60 plus and getting the win on Saturday and also the win in the tournament.
Definitely. Huh? And you just took one of the points right out of my mouth. Will, you mentioned they're the number 2 defense in the country. I mean, if anyone can stop Arizona, it's UCLA's defense. And also the problem was when they played Arizona the first time, they they kind of shut them down a little bit, but they didn't score enough. That's why UCLA's scoring was not there in the beginning of the season. That's why they lost to Baylor. That's why they lost to Illinois. That's why they lost to Arizona early in the season. Their scoring, as Ben said, has taken a massive leap. Part of that is because the young guys are getting more experience towards the end of the season. Look at Amari Bailey, who's the main freshman on the team. He's taken a huge leap in the past couple of weeks. But the one thing I want to point out is the height. It doesn't make sense to me. Adam Bona, currently leading the Pac-12 in blocks per game, is 6'11". I mean, he's one of the best defensive centers, I would say, in college basketball right now. He is shutting down the rim. Adam Bona, he's a freshman. I mean, Adam Bona has been on a tear in the past month. That's all I'm saying. The height does not concern me now. Last year it did with Miles Johnson, little injury prone, didn't really have a backup center, but they also have depth there. Mac Etienne is 6'10". I mean, I'm comfortable with the big man play. I'm really comfortable. I'm not scared at all.
Well, and you mentioned what was his name? Your center,
Adam Bona.
How many blocks per game is he averaging?
I can double check that right now for you.
All right. Just kind of wondering because you did call him the best defender in college basketball, the best, center.
I say he's one of the best defensive centers in college basketball right now.
All right, but it is a broad take. I'm just saying. Mm-hmm. Just kind of wondering how is
2 blocks a game. 2 blocks a game. Mm-hmm.
All right, that's nowhere near 2.7 from Trace Jackson Davis. Just want to say.
I said he was leading the Pac-12, not the whole country.
I got you.
All right, so we're good. It could be very fun on Saturday. Like I said, we're going to get to that at the very end of this episode. Once again, Pac-12 going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. We'll move on to the Big East and our predictions for their champion. Jock?
One word, Adam Sanogo. I think he's the best player in the conference. I really, again, UConn earlier in the season, I was really just not a fan. But I've watched a lot of Marquette basketball in the past 2 weeks, and because I really didn't have much faith in them at the beginning of the season, they're an interesting team. I think that they're a pretty decent team. I think it'll be a close game, but Sanogo is my favorite player in the Big East at the moment. I think he could really take over the game, especially the championship game. I think UConn's guard play is more than good enough to play around Sanogo. So I'm going to take UConn. I'm pretty confident in it as well. I think UConn's going to win.
Jack?
Well, I do want to spoil real quick. I think UCLA will beat Arizona on Saturday. and then Arizona will beat them in the Pac-12. So I don't think either of those teams are going to get the 1 seed. I think Marquette steps in and takes that 1 seed because this Marquette team is that good. This Big East is so competitive this year, and they've just been rolling through teams except for Xavier once and UConn once, but that's both away games, so you can, it's hard to win those. But some of the away games they've been winning that are very, very impressive, and Cam Jones is one of the best guards in the country. The way he facilitates that team, that's the reason why they're the 6th seed right now. Nobody expected it. I do believe they win this Big East tournament, and they step into that 1 seed.
Well,
yeah, I have 2 teams. Actually, I'll give you guys 3 teams. Sorry, I'll give you guys 3 teams I think, that I think are going to win it. Not win it, but have a chance to win it. And actually, UConn's not on that list. I think Sanogo's amazing. I think Sanogo's a stud. He can step out of the paint. He could shoot the 3, and also he's an amazing center. It blows my mind what he does on the court. He's ridiculous. But I'm really going to just zero down to 3 guys. It's Marquette, Xavier, and Creighton. Creighton's still probably one of the most underrated college basketball teams. If we're just talking skill-wise, I think they're top 15. It's going to blow your mind when I say that. They're top they're top 25 in both offense and defense. They have what it takes to win. They just haven't shown it this season. But really, it comes down to Xavier just being so good. I mean, they got Kalkbrenner. I mean, Sully Bohm, that dude just pulls up from anywhere. He just dribbles and shoots half-court threes and knocks him down. Xavier is by far the most explosive offensive team. The most explosive offensive team in this whole division. I think Marquette is amazing. And the one reason I'm going to take Xavier over Marquette offensively is because Marquette, first of all, they blow my mind what they do offensively also because they don't have a lead guy. Everybody in that team averages 10 points a game. So it's kind of how are you going to stop them? They got one day this guy's going to put up 20. The next day he's going to have 5 points. And he's coming off the bench. Marquette just has talent on all 5 players of their team. But I mean, Xavier, they're superstar loaded. They're amazing. Their defense is very, very weak. I mean, 90th in the whole college basketball. But dude, Xavier's offense is scary. I mean, they're gonna put together. They have the formula to win, and I think they're gonna put together and win the Big East.
Who are they scary to? I'm not scared of Xavier at all. I think UConn's clearly the better team. I mean, I wouldn't have them in my top 3. I think it's Marquette and UConn is really the two-headed race here. I'm not scared of Xavier at all. I get the points you're making. Like, it's not terrible, but like, I'm not scared. I feel like they can be shut down very, very easily. I feel like they've been shown. And for me, the thing with Creighton, I'll shift my base to Creighton a little bit more now. Creighton has just been too up and down for me. They were underrated to start the season. Then they became overrated when they went in the top 10 and lost a couple games. And now they're back to underrated. They're a very good team, but they're too, I would say, streaky and up and down for me. UConn has been consistently good. They've had a couple bad losses like any team in the country has. And Marquette has just been this rising team. So I feel like, to me, it's really UConn and Marquette are the two that are, I would say, more consistently good and have the best chance, to me, to win this thing.
Yeah, so moving on. Oh, go ahead.
One thing I do want to go back. Sorry, I said Kalkbrenner's on Xavier. He's not. He's on Creighton. Totally messed that one up. Yeah, but no. Also Fremantle. He's currently out for Xavier. So when he comes back, that's gonna be a huge addition.
If he comes back.
He's gonna be back. What did he do? What was it?
I believe it was to his ankle.
Yeah, I think he sprained his ankle pretty bad. But I mean, that happened over 2 months ago. So I expect him to be back for the tournament. I mean, Nunji, Bohm, these guys, they're all like amazing. I mean, they beat UConn. They beat every team. Like every single team in this conference they beat. And I truly think every team can beat every team.
Agreed.
Even going down as far as Villanova. I mean, these teams are amazing.
Stop. I think any of the top 4.
Villanova is another one of those blue blood teams you want to call that don't have a coach. They don't know they haven't put it together. But I mean, they have some weird stats that just show. Like, I mean, first of all, they got a ton of talent. Cam Whitmore, the freshman, is amazing. He's gonna be so good next year. Just random things that Villanova's really good at. They're like the best free throw shooting team in the entire country. I mean, they're very solid defensively. They do a lot of things very, very well. So I think Villanova can beat any team they want. Not at any time. But it just don't sleep on different teams. But I really think Xavier's got the best chance. I mean,
to say it,
it's hard to stop.
I think that's the TikTok clip of the day. Villanova can beat any team in the Big East. I think that is just. I think that's preposterous.
They've done it. They have. But the thing is, they have.
I think that's awful.
All right. I mean, that's what you think.
I do want to bring up one more team. I don't know why we're not talking about them. Providence has played an amazing,
I like that.
Amazing year, and they've had some
because they're boring, because they're not good, because they're just not a good team.
Who's better? Who's better, Villanova or Providence? Who's better, Villanova or Providence? Oh my God! Roll it on TikTok.
Dude,
roll
Providence is a boring. They're not a good team.
Who cares if they're boring? They win games.
They beat Marquette. They beat Villanova at Villanova. Like what?
Did they win by double digits Villanova twice? Did they win by double digits at Villanova too? If I'm not mistaken.
You can't beat a team 3 times.
I don't know what it is with you and Zach using this team is boring as a negative. It makes no sense to me.
No, I just added that to Purdue. I do think Indiana has their number.
Okay.
That's why I think Indiana's going to win it, but also Purdue's boring. Providence is just actually a well put together team and has some very good wins on their schedule.
It's a boring logo and a boring uniform. You got that. I mean, that is clearly like they're boring in those parts, but I don't care how boring they are on the court, dude. Like they're just better. Like it's not a big argument.
I don't even think it's close between them and Villanova.
I think I do want to just say though that for this is like I would say the Big East and the Big Ten are the 3 most. I would also say the Big 12. So all the bigs. I mean, look at that. All 3 most competitive tournaments by far. I mean, the Big East, I'm just saying, I wouldn't be shocked if, a team like Creighton came out, UConn, there's just so much talent. UConn, Xavier, Marquette, all these teams have the ability to win. So don't sleep on those teams. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and something else that we shouldn't be sleeping on is this comment right down there. Ryan Lehner, friend of the show. Nothing else he would rather be doing than watching us chat it up. So I think we give a round of applause for Ryan Lehner. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for tuning in, Ryan. We really appreciate that. Joe's football, no one better. Starting off
Nobody
as a tackle.
better. Yes, sir.
I mean, the list goes on for Ryan Lehner, friend
QB1.
of the show. I'll finish it up with the Big East here. Will mentioned underrated for Creighton. I think there is another team who is extremely underrated who Guac picked, and I think that's UConn. I don't think they're the 14th best team in the country. I think they are clearly a top 10 team. You can make an argument. I won't, but you can make an argument even top 6, top 5 even if you wanted to. They are. It is really a big four between UConn, Marquette, Creighton, and Xavier. But I think UConn is just better. I think they're better than those groups of teams. That they're a very well balanced team. They played a decent schedule. I would say they have a very nice offense. Defense is a little bit more lacking, but I mean some of the wins they have. Speaking of Marquette, who you guys have picked so far, they beat Marquette by 15 points less than a month ago. Which I mean that's good enough for me. They beat a solid Seton Hall team almost by double digits. They annihilated number 20 Providence. Like they are having some very nice wins to tally up to their 23-7 record. So for me, it is going to be UConn. We'll move on. What is that there? Oh, St. John's?
A double-digit loss to St. John's.
St. John's isn't awful. I know you don't want to hear it. They're not a bum school. They're not awful.
St. John's.
They went and lost to
one of the
Seton
worst
Hall.
teams.
And they went and lost to Seton Hall. I like UConn. I think they're awesome, but they just have some really, really bad losses on that resume. There's just some games where I don't even think they show up. I just think they don't even come to play basketball. And I mean, that's why I fear for the Big East. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow found a way to be a first-round exit in this tournament.
All right. Well, like we said, it's those 4 teams that we really think are going to battle it out. Maybe Villanova, maybe Providence too. I think we should just throw those 2 teams away. Definitely Villanova. Maybe not Providence. Definitely Villanova. We'll move on. We'll move on to the SEC. Our last conference we'll be covering. So, Guac, I'll throw it to you.
This is just another weak conference, man. Like, it pains me to take the favorite in Alabama because I just don't think anyone's on their level and as good as them. Tennessee, if this was earlier in the season, I would have said Tennessee's probably a little close, but they just don't scare me at this moment in time. So I'm going to take Alabama by a pretty sizable margin. I don't think they're going to have a close game in the SEC tournament.
Jack?
You know what? You got to be lucky sometimes, and some things just happen at a random, all right? Like we're not gonna have all these favorites win these tournaments or all these one of the top 3 teams win the tournaments. And I just believe that somehow, some way, Kentucky wins this SEC tournament.
I thought you were gonna say Arkansas, and I was gonna be so happy. But Kentucky,
they beat Tennessee twice, so we could just throw Tennessee out of the mix. They'll beat them again, and you have to win a lucky game, and they're gonna win that lucky game against Alabama. Oscar Tshiebwe is one of the best players in the country, and you lead him with John Calipari, the best coach in that conference. And you think about, neutral ground on these conference tournaments. I don't want to talk about the controversy, but Alabama's going to be booed everywhere they go.
No.
Like they get booed everywhere they go. They're playing away even at a neutral ground. So I like Kentucky in this SEC tournament, even though I don't think they're the better team. I just think somehow out of luck they win it.
All right.
Well, Guac, I really hate to do this because, I love Guac. He's a good man, but I sometimes really just like making him happy. And what Jack said, he kind of stole my throne because you already went with a hot take. I mean, Alabama's got some killers. They're really good. But I have to go with Arkansas here. I'm not even joking here. I don't think Tennessee is going to make it. I don't think Tennessee is going to do much this year. They have an amazing defense. They're obviously the best defense in the league. And their offense at home is great. They could do that, but they don't travel at all. I think they're going to be upset very quickly in the March Madness tournament. And I don't think they're going to make it too far here. And speaking about Arkansas, rough season, but they're down their best player by far, Nick Smith Jr., who's an absolute stud. I mean, when he returned, I mean, that Arkansas team went from here to here. I mean, their record tells you nothing about them. A lot of what Arkansas has done in the past means almost nothing. They lose to Alabama at home by 3. they travel to Tennessee, and they get beaten pretty bad. But as I said, Tennessee is a very, very home court advantage team, probably one of the most in the entire college basketball, by the fact that their offense does not travel with them at all. I think Arkansas can catch a couple, can catch a hot streak and get lucky, and I really do think they could win. I think Kentucky can win also. Shout out to Jack with that. I do think they have a chance. But I think this division's more open than a lot of people think. It's a lot of people are just going to say, oh, Alabama's going to win it because they got some guys, who can really make some plays happen. They got some real tough guys to beat. But, Arkansas has just been so good as of late. I really, really think that they can – I think they're going to take it home.
Love it.
All right, yeah, and Will, you said Tennessee doesn't travel well on the road, but I think for the SEC tournament that the fans travel well, and that's a good enough home court advantage for me. I'm going to go with Tennessee here. Some very impressive wins. You just picked Arkansas. I know they were at home, but they just beat them 75-57. That's good enough for me to knock Arkansas off. Just beat Alabama on February 15th, 68-59. That's good enough for me to pick Tennessee. They're the best defense in college basketball. Yes, the offense has been very, very on and off, but I like the Volunteers in the tournament, man. So I'm going to go with the Tennessee Volunteers to win the SEC. Guac, you were looking at me a little strange there. You got a problem with it?
I'm just not a believer in Tennessee. I like what Will and Jack both said. I think that they're a very early tournament exit, and I just really don't see them standing much of a chance. But I'm not going to argue it as much because, again, ranking-wise, the number 2 team in the conference. Sure, I think that they're not going to show up come conference tournament coming in at a time. They're 3? Really? Who else?
Texas A&M.
Is ahead of them? Rankings?
They just got
I didn't even know they had a
25.
basketball program. I couldn't name one player. They're somehow 14-3 in the conference. Unbelievable.
We're going to get to them next.
I think it's a very underrated conference. I think there's multiple teams that could make a run for it. Like we said, we have 3 different teams we're picking here, or 4 different teams actually. So it should be very fun for the SEC tournament. Games of the week, we'll move on to that to top off the episode. We'll get right into it. Number 2, Alabama at number 24, Texas A&M, of which Will just found out they have a basketball program. Jock, I'll throw it to you first.
Will sounds about right. Texas A&M, not a bad team. I get they have the home court advantage, but Alabama's just been very hot lately. You mentioned the one Tennessee loss, just doesn't concern me at all. I think Alabama's going to go in to Texas A&M and win it by a sizable margin.
Jack?
Yeah, I think Alabama. I don't care about Texas A&M and their home court advantage. I think Alabama is playing very good basketball right now. You got their best player back. He's playing very well. I'll take Alabama pretty easy in this one.
Well,
yeah, I really did not know Texas A&M was like anything at basketball. I'm not joking. I know a lot about college basketball, and I did not even know they played. So I got to take Alabama. They are a very tough beat. They're very, very good, and they do travel pretty well. I just think they're the better team. Obviously they're the better team, but I think they're that much better where they could dominate on the road against Texas A&M.
Yeah, Texas A&M, top 25 team. That's great for them, but Alabama's just by far better. It's not even close. They're better on offense. They're better on defense. They're just a better team overall. I don't care what stadium they're playing in. You can play wherever you want. Bama is winning this game. We'll move on to our next game. Number 3, Kansas, traveling to number 9, Texas. Jock.
Game of the week. Yeah, this is the best game on Saturday by far, in my opinion. See, this is why I had such trouble with my Big 12 conference winner, because I'm going to take Texas at home. I think the home court advantage is going to be the slight edge in this game. I like what Texas has done. They've had a couple of rough losses in the past month. I get that. But Texas is a team I feel like they're going to really elevate their play in the last month and going into the tournament. I think this is the game that gets Texas started on the right foot and starts their hot streak. So I'm going to take the Longhorns at home here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Texas as well, especially at home, but they got some stars, man. Marcus Carr, Tyrese Hunter, both having very good years, and I can't believe nobody picked them to win the Big 12 because they're definitely a team that – yeah, I like them. I think they're my second favorite in the Big 12. I like this team a lot. I could see them winning the Big 12, and I see them winning this game. That's it. Sorry.
Well.
So you think that Kansas is the 3rd best team in the Big 12, Jack?
No, I think Kansas is the best team in the Big 12.
Oh, okay. You just think the Kansas State's gonna pull it out?
Yeah,
I got you. All right. So, yeah, back to this. I think Kansas is the only team in college basketball that's like a legit NBA team. Like, they are so good. They have probably the best coach in college basketball, or at least one of them. They have Jalen Wilson, who is, I would say, the third best player in college basketball. They have Grady Dick, he is an NBA level shooter. He does have some work to do, but I wouldn't, if he went to the draft this year, I would see him being a very, very good shooter in the NBA. They have McCullough, who's just comes off the bench and just does amazing things. I mean, everybody calls him a role player, and he's only a role player because he plays for this Kansas team. I mean, they are by far the best team in college basketball. I think they're going to repeat. I mean, they are so good. They have beaten all these teams, and they're not going to be afraid of a little away. I mean, early on, Kansas had problem playing on the road. They had young guys. I mean, they had Grady Dick, who was young. He was awful on the road early on. But, I mean, I think it's almost basically once they played Indiana, Grady Dick had 20 against us. And from there, he kind of just took off. I don't think there's a possibility they lose to Texas on the road. I don't think there's a possibility they lose another game this year. I mean, Kansas is that type good. They are. I mean, Bill Self is so experienced. This would be Bill Self's, I think, 4th or 5th conference tournament victory. This is Kansas' 10th if they win. I mean, they are so good. They're gonna beat Texas, and I have nothing but amazing things to say about Kansas. They're probably the most amazing team I've seen play college basketball in a while. And yeah, I don't think any team has the ability to beat them.
Yeah, I'm actually going to agree with. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Jack.
Also, just one thing to point out is that Kansas already won the Big 12 regular season, so they have the 1 seed in the Big 12 tournament. So you could see them, maybe sitting their starters longer than usual.
That could be a factor. That'll be something to look into too. I'm going to agree with Jock actually again on my pick and Jaden Hunter down in the comments. I'm going to go with Texas. Texas just lost to Kansas. I understand that. Well, not just lost. About a month ago, they lost by 8 in Kansas. They're at Kansas. And, yeah, they're on a cold streak. These past couple of games have been rough. But, once again, I'm with Jock on this one. I really think this is going to be a bounce-back game for them. I love that offense. I think it's a very nice high-power offense. And I think it comes to show at home against number 3 Kansas. We'll move on to our final game of the week. Number 8 Arizona at number 4 UCLA. Jock.
I think I explained my reasoning. I think I explained my prediction already, so I'm not going to say much. I'm taking the Bruins at home.
Jack?
Yeah, I had to take the Bruins at home only because it's home. That's really my biggest reasoning. It's just UCLA has a huge home court advantage in this one.
Well,
yeah, I hate to say the same things as everybody, but yeah, really, really, definitely just got to go with UCLA home court advantage. These two teams are neck and neck, but I think the home court advantage is going to be what does it.
No, it is very close. We talked a lot about it before, so like you guys, I'll keep it simple and sweet. I think UCLA is the better team, and they're at home. That's enough for me to pick the Bruins. Go ahead, Will.
Just want to say one more thing. Villanova is playing at home tomorrow against UConn, so we do get to see the answer on who's better.
And I think UConn.
Really quick. Guac, UConn or Villanova? Picking that
UConn.
game.
They're going to win by double digits.
Jack,
Get it done.
UConn.
I'll take Nova. Nova.
God. All right. I think that's a good place to end the episode.
Villanova, baby.
Clearly, we're getting delusional in here.
Yep. So
for Giacomo Imperiali, Jack Kemmler, and Will Krakowski, and Ben Schauer, there we go. That's going to be it for the episode. We're going to be pumping out a lot more as March ramps up. So be sure to tune in to Joe's Knows College Basketball. Thanks for watching.